When you walk through this world, you will learn soon enough that not every person who stands before you stands with you. Some come with open arms, and some come with hidden daggers. Some bless you with their presence, and some injure you with their bitterness. And yet, here is the sacred truth. You do not have to enter the battlefield to win a war that was never yours to begin with. You do not have to raise your voice, sharpen your anger, or let your peace be disturbed just because someone else has lost their own. You can destroy the power of your enemy without ever throwing a single punch, without ever returning a single insult, without ever lowering your dignity to meet them where their shadows live. There is a strength in stillness that many people do not understand because they have never tasted its sweetness. People think winning means shouting louder, pushing harder, or proving themselves right. But sometimes winning is choosing silence instead of chaos. Sometimes winning is stepping out of the ring entirely and letting your calm expose the fury in others. Sometimes winning is refusing to let someone pull you down into the mud where they feel most comfortable. The moment you no longer react, you have already defeated them. The moment you refuse to participate in the storm has no fuel to continue. Enemies rise when they see fear. They strengthen when they feel your frustration. They thrive when they sense that they have gotten beneath your skin, touched your wounds, or shaken your sense of self. But enemies weaken when they see you smiling in the face of their hostility. They shrink when your peace remains unbothered by their attempts to provoke you. They are defeated when you grow beyond the level where their words can reach you. You destroy your enemy, not by fighting them, but by becoming untouchable, emotionally, spiritually, mentally untouchable. There is a difference between fighting and rising. One keeps you entangled. The other lifts you above the reach of conflict. When you rise, you stop seeing the world through the eyes of pain, and you begin seeing it through the eyes of wisdom. You recognize that the person who resents you is often drowning in resentment of themselves. The one who lies about you lies first to their own aching heart. The one who mocks you often carries deep wounds that laughter can't heal. And the one who attacks your joy has forgotten what joy feels like. So, you do not need to fight them. They are already fighting a battle within, and your job is not to join them. Your job is to grow. When people rise against you, let them. The truth is, they are revealing themselves, not destroying you. The universe has a way of allowing the darkness in others to expose itself without you lifting even a finger. The very moment you choose peace over retaliation, you are liberated. The moment you choose dignity over reaction, you are elevated. Sometimes you win simply by refusing to play the game. Sometimes, the greatest thing you can do is allow people to reveal their own nature while you stay rooted in yours. Never interrupt someone who is discrediting themselves. Never rush to defend yourself against a person who is committed to misunderstanding you. Explanation is a luxury you do not owe to everyone. Your worth is not up for debate, not even in the eyes of an enemy. Let your character speak. It speaks far louder than their accusations. Let your consistency speak. It speaks long after their noise has faded. Let your integrity speak. It speaks even when they shout. When they try to pull you down to a version of yourself you have outgrown, do not go. Stand firm in your transformation. Stand firm in your evolution. When you refuse to descend, you destroy the very foundation on which your enemy stands. They cannot fight a person who has nothing to prove. They cannot manipulate a mind that is calm. They cannot intimidate a soul that knows its own strength. The battlefield dissolves when one side simply refuses to engage. Do not be fooled into thinking that power lies in force. Power lies in self-control. Power lies in the quiet confidence of knowing who you are and what you will not allow. Power lies in walking away from anything that threatens your peace. Power lies in choosing not to return pain for pain, hate for hate, disrespect for disrespect. Power lies in understanding that every response costs a piece of your energy, and you must choose wisely who receives even a drop of that sacred currency. There is something profoundly disarming about a person who is not moved by negativity. The more you glow with grace, the more uncomfortable your enemies become. The more you persevere, the more powerless they feel. The more you love yourself, the less access they have. And the more you flourish, the more they must face themselves, not you. You strip away their influence by refusing to let their darkness dim your light. Sometimes the greatest revenge is simply living well. Not living loudly, not living arrogantly, but living fully, kindly, joyfully, abundantly. When you build a life you love, their bitterness dissolves in the brilliance of your growth. When you cultivate peace within your own soul, everything meant to harm you loses its sting. When you rise into the fullness of your potential, those who wished you harm become irrelevant, mere echoes of yesterday's insecurities. You destroy your enemy by outgrowing the version of you that once felt threatened by them. Some people will attempt to rewrite your story in their own handwriting. Let them write. Their words will never overwrite the truth. The truth stands unshaken. The truth survives the storm. The truth outlives the lie. And eventually the truth returns home like a loyal friend, bringing light to every place where darkness tried to hide. There is a victory that does not look like victory at first glance. It looks like silence. It looks like stillness. It looks like letting go. It looks like moving on. It looks like staying silent when the world expects you to yell. And yet, that silence is louder than any argument. That stillness is stronger than any outburst. That letting go is heavier than any retaliation. And that moving on is the greatest triumph of all. Understand this deeply. Nobody can defeat a person who refuses to be consumed by conflict. Nobody can hurt a person who refuses to internalize the hurt. Nobody can steal the joy of a person who creates joy from within. This is the quiet revolution of a powerful soul. This is how you destroy an enemy, by refusing to become one in return. Walk gently through this world, but walk with a strong spirit. Speak softly, but speak with truth. Love deeply, but love yourself first. And when someone tries to pull you into their bitterness, bless them and keep walking. There is no need to chase down someone who has already fallen behind. If they feel threatened by your presence, let that be their burden, not yours. Your purpose is too great to be tangled in smallness. Life will send people to test your patience, your integrity, your resilience. But trust that life will also reward you for choosing better. If someone tries to break you, become unbreakable. If someone tries to anger you, become unshakable. If someone tries to diminish you, grow even more luminous. And if someone tries to destroy you, rise so high that they can no longer reach the place where your spirit lives. You are not here to fight every battle. You are not here to prove yourself to every critic. You are not here to absorb every wound aimed at your heart. You are here to evolve. You are here to elevate. You are here to rise above the noise. And rising has always been the most powerful form of victory. So let your enemies talk. Let them doubt. Let them plot. Let them resent. Let them misunderstand. Your task is not to silence them. Your task is to silence the need within you to respond to them. That is the real power. When you no longer need to argue, defend, or retaliate, you have already won. When you no longer need to win the fight can no longer touch you. Destroy them with kindness if you must, with silence if you prefer, with success if you are inclined. But above all, destroy them by refusing to become what they are. Keep your spirit gentle. Keep your heart open. Keep your mind clear. And keep your soul aligned with the truth you know. You are not defined by what they say. You are not diminished by what they believe. You are not controlled by what they fear. You are defined by the light that refuses to fade within you. You are strengthened by every moment you choose peace over chaos. You are elevated by every step you take away from conflict. And you are victorious every time you rise above the noise and walk in the direction of your purpose. In the quiet power of your grace, their weapons fall useless. In the gentle strength of your spirit, their hatred dissolves. In the unwavering truth of your character, their lies crumble. And in the unshakable peace of your heart, their attempts to harm you become powerless. That is how you destroy your enemy, without fighting them at all. True power comes from mastering your reactions, not controlling your enemies, because your reactions are the birthplace of your strength, the place where your inner world decides whether to rise or crumble. People spend so much of their lives trying to manage what others think, say, or do, believing that victory comes from altering the behavior of those who stand against them. But real victory is quieter, deeper, and rooted in self-command. When you learn to regulate your emotions, you no longer bend in the direction of provocation, nor do you allow someone else's insecurity to dictate the climate of your spirit. Mastery of reaction means knowing when silence is more powerful than argument, when patience is more effective than anger, and when walking away is wiser than engaging in battles that drain your soul. Every time you choose calm over chaos, you reclaim authority over your own life. You show yourself that the world around you may shake, but you do not have to shake with it. You show your heart that it does not have to beat to the rhythm of someone else's hostility. You show your mind that it does not have to be invaded by someone else's darkness. The truth is, you cannot control enemies because their behavior comes from wounds you did not cause, fears you did not create, and battles that began long before you came into their line of sight. People project their internal unrest outward, hoping someone else will carry the weight they refuse to examine. If you try to control them, you trap yourself in a cycle of frustration, because no amount of reason can transform a heart that is not ready to grow. But when you master your reactions, you remove yourself from their emotional jurisdiction. Their words no longer sting the same way. Their actions no longer shake you. Their attempts to provoke you lose their effectiveness, because you operate from a higher place, a steadier ground, a calmer center. Reaction mastery is not about denying emotions. It is about guiding them with intention. It is feeling anger but not letting anger speak for you. Feeling hurt but not letting hurt shape your decisions. Feeling fear but not letting fear shrink your power. It is choosing a thoughtful response instead of a reflexive one. It is recognizing that your emotions are valid but do not have to be volatile. When you reach this level of maturity, others can no longer puppeteer your behavior. The moment someone senses they cannot manipulate you with irritation, disrespect, or chaos, they lose their leverage entirely. Power is not found in controlling the external. Power is found in mastering the internal. It is born in the pause between stimulus and response, in the breath you take before you react, in the quiet conversation you have with yourself before your emotions speak on your behalf. The more you strengthen this inner discipline, the more others reveal themselves while you remain unshaken. Your enemies become powerless observers, watching as their attempts fall flat against the shield of your self-control. Through that mastery you rise, you elevate, and you step into a version of yourself that no external force can intimidate or influence. Silence can dismantle hostility faster than confrontation ever could, because silence speaks in a language that confusion and anger cannot interpret. When someone expects you to react, to flare up, to defend yourself with the same heated energy they are giving, your silence becomes a mirror that forces them to face their own behavior. It denies them the fuel they need to keep the fire burning. Hostility thrives on response. It feeds on reaction. When you don't give it what it needs to survive, it weakens on its own. Silence is not the absence of strength. It is the presence of discipline, the presence of understanding, the presence of someone who has learned that not every attack deserves a counterattack. There is a profound wisdom in staying quiet when the world expects noise. It shifts the power dynamic effortlessly, showing that you are not a participant in the chaos, but an observer who refuses to descend into it. Silence allows clarity to rise where confusion once stood. It creates space for truth to surface without interference. When you remain silent in the face of hostility, you are not surrendering. You are simply letting the moment reveal itself. People who speak from anger often regret the words they throw out. People who speak from ego often expose their insecurities. People who lash out quickly often unravel even quicker. Your silence is the thread that lets all these unravelings become visible. Without you engaging, those who attack you must confront the emptiness of their own aggression. Your lack of response is unsettling to them because it strips them of control. They cannot predict your next move, they cannot manipulate your emotions, and they cannot pull you into the emotional storm they are trying to create. Silence also protects your peace. It is a shield made not of weakness, but of intention. Instead of pouring your energy into conflict, you conserve it for growth, healing, and forward movement. You choose not to exhaust your spirit for the sake of proving a point that does not elevate you. In that restraint, you show yourself that your peace is more valuable than your pride. You show that your purpose is more important than the temporary satisfaction of winning an argument. Silence allows you to rise above situations that once consumed you and to handle moments with grace rather than reaction. There is a power in the quiet that cannot be replicated by shouting. Silence disrupts hostility because it removes your emotional vulnerability from the equation. When you are silent, you are ungraspable. No one can twist your words. No one can use your tone against you. No one can say you escalated the situation. Silence leaves no fingerprints. It leaves only truth. It exposes who is truly at fault without you having to prove anything. The one who remains calm always stands taller than the one who loses control. Silence is strength disguised as softness, protection disguised as stillness, victory disguised as serenity. It dissolves hostility because hostility cannot exist where calm refuses to feed it. Walking away from conflict is not weakness. It is strategic self-respect, a deep understanding that your time, your peace, and your emotional energy are too valuable to be wasted in battles that bring no growth. People often misunderstand the act of walking away, thinking it means surrender or avoidance, but in reality, it is one of the clearest signs of emotional maturity. When you walk away, you are not running, you are choosing. You are choosing clarity over chaos, inner peace over external approval, and wisdom over ego. You are acknowledging that some situations cannot be fixed by arguing, some people cannot be reached by reasoning, and some moments simply do not deserve the power of your reaction. The strength lies in recognizing that staying and fighting would pull you into a cycle of negativity, where you lose far more than you gain. Walking away requires discipline. It demands that you silence the part of you that wants to prove a point, defend your honor, or correct someone who refuses to see the truth. It requires you to rise above the desire for validation, to step away from the need to be right, and to embrace the freedom that comes from not engaging. It is a conscious choice to protect your energy rather than waste it. When you walk away, you reclaim your power because you are no longer letting someone else direct the course of your emotions. Instead of being pushed around by the storm, you anchor yourself in your own center, refusing to be swayed by someone else's turmoil. There is strategy in stepping back. You gain perspective. You gain clarity. Distance has a way of revealing what closeness often distorts. When you are in the heat of conflict, emotions rise, thoughts blur, and the truth becomes difficult to see. But when you remove yourself, the fog clears. You begin to understand what matters and what doesn't. You begin to see people for who they truly are, not for who they pretended to be in the moment of tension. You begin to recognize patterns, intentions, and the deeper motivations behind certain actions. Walking away gives you the space to think, to breathe, to evaluate without pressure. Walking away also communicates something powerful to the other person. It tells them that you will not be dragged into dysfunction, that you refuse to participate in toxic cycles, that your peace is not up for negotiation. Most conflicts continue because both sides keep feeding the fire. But when one side steps away, the fire has no choice but to weaken. You show the other person that you cannot be controlled, provoked, or manipulated. You show them that you operate from a higher level of emotional intelligence. And more importantly, you show them that you are not afraid to lose someone who is not afraid to lose you. Self-respect means honoring your boundaries, even when doing so feels difficult. It means refusing to sacrifice your mental well-being for the sake of temporary satisfaction. It means understanding that peace is worth more than winning. Walking away is a declaration that you value yourself too much to remain in spaces where your spirit is drained, your voice is dismissed, or your dignity is challenged. It is a reminder that sometimes the greatest strength is refusing to fight a battle that should never have involved you in the first place. Your growth is the greatest defeat your enemy will ever experience, because nothing disarms a person who wants to see you fail more than watching you rise, despite every attempt they made to discourage, distract, or derail you. Growth is a silent victory that speaks loudly without you having to utter a single word. It shows your enemies that their opinions never shaped your destiny, Their bitterness never blocked your path, and their disbelief never weakened your potential. When you evolve, you prove, without confrontation, that their efforts were powerless. They expected you to shrink, but you expanded. They expected you to break, but you transformed. They expected you to stop, but you kept moving. There is no greater triumph than becoming the version of yourself they never wanted to see emerge. Growth is not always loud or dramatic. Most of it happens quietly, in moments where you choose discipline over comfort, healing over resentment, and self-awareness over blame. Growth means outgrowing the need for validation from people who never supported you. It means developing the emotional intelligence to understand that their hostility came from a place of insecurity, not truth. It means recognizing that your journey is not about proving them wrong, but about proving to yourself that you can rise beyond every limitation, whether placed by others or created within your own mind. When you commit to your own evolution, you take back control of your narrative, and no enemy can touch a person who writes their story with intention. Your progress reminds your enemies that they failed, not because you fought them, but because you didn't need to. Every chapter you elevate into is a reminder that their attempts to hold you back were in vain. Growth exposes their irrelevance. It highlights how small their efforts were in the grand design of your life. People who wish you harm do not fear your anger. They fear your elevation. They fear your strength. They fear the moment you realize your value. Because once you rise above their reach, they lose the power they once imagined they had. Your success becomes the quiet echo that follows them, reminding them of everything they could not stop. When you grow, you stop engaging in the same conflicts that once drained you. You stop responding to the same provocations that once controlled you. You stop living in the emotional spaces where your enemies feel most comfortable. Instead, you stretch into new levels of clarity, confidence, and purpose. You step into rooms they cannot enter, conversations they cannot understand, and opportunities they cannot access. Growth separates you from the noise, lifting you into a life where your enemies are left watching from a distance. They may speak, but their words no longer reach you. They may plot, but their plans no longer affect you. They may resent you, but their resentment becomes a burden they must carry alone. Your growth is a reflection of your spirit's resilience. It is the proof that everything meant to break you only shaped you. It is the evidence that your heart is stronger than their envy, and your purpose larger than their intentions. You defeat them not by fighting, but by flourishing. You defeat them not by retaliating, but by rising. You defeat them by becoming someone who can no longer be touched by the smallness that once tried to hold you down. Enemies lose their influence the moment you stop feeding their negativity, because influence is a currency that cannot exist without a willing recipient. When you allow someone else's anger, bitterness, or resentment to enter your mind and shape your behavior, you are handing them power over your inner world. Every reaction, every argument, every moment spent defending yourself or proving your worth is like depositing fuel into a fire that should have died long ago. The moment you refuse to engage, the moment you step back and stop investing your energy into their attempts to provoke you, their influence begins to dissolve. They cannot control what you do not give them access to, and they cannot dominate the mind that refuses to be entangled. Negativity thrives on attention. It grows when it is recognized, acknowledged, and mirrored back. People who wish to harm, demean, or destabilize you are often experts at detecting vulnerability. They know where the cracks lie, where the insecurities hide, and where your patience runs thin. But when you stop responding, when you stop feeding the narrative they try to create, they lose their leverage. Their words fall flat. Their actions carry no weight. Their efforts to provoke you become exercises in futility. By refusing to participate in the drama, you demonstrate that your focus is elsewhere, on growth, on peace, on purpose. And in doing so, you reclaim authority over your life. Influence is only as strong as the acceptance it receives. When you disengage, you are not ignoring reality. You are refusing to allow negativity to dictate your emotional or mental state. You are setting boundaries without confrontation, preserving your energy without apology, and maintaining your dignity without bitterness. This choice communicates something powerful to both your enemies and yourself, that you are untouchable by petty attempts to undermine your spirit. When someone senses that their efforts no longer sway you, they are forced to confront the emptiness of their actions. You have removed their power not by defeating them, but by choosing not to give them the ammunition they need to harm you. Stopping the feeding of negativity is also a form of self-preservation. Every second spent reacting to hostility is a second taken from your growth, your joy, and your focus on what truly matters. By redirecting your energy away from those who try to diminish you, you invest it into your own life, your own goals, and your own well-being. You learn to distinguish between battles worth fighting and distractions that drain you. You learn that silence and restraint can be stronger than any argument or confrontation. You learn that influence is only dangerous when it is allowed inside the walls of your mind. And when you close those walls, your enemies lose their foothold. When you stop feeding negativity, you also set a standard for how others will interact with you. You teach that respect, integrity, and intention matter more than drama, manipulation, and aggression. You show that the energy you expend is precious, and that only those who honor your boundaries will receive it. Enemies may continue to speak, to plot, to attempt to provoke, but without your participation they are powerless. Your calmness, your focus, and your refusal to engage become the tools that dismantle their influence quietly, effectively, and permanently. Protecting your peace is the highest form of winning, because peace is the foundation on which all meaningful power, clarity, and fulfillment are built. There is a misconception in the world that victory is measured by the number of battles won, the number of arguments conquered, or the number of opponents subdued. But the truth is that real victory begins within. When you guard your inner tranquility, you hold the most impenetrable fortress there is, a place where no one can infiltrate with negativity, anger, or malice. Peace is not a passive state, it is an active commitment, a deliberate choice to preserve the calmness of your mind, the steadiness of your heart, and the clarity of your spirit. Those who understand this know that peace is more valuable than the temporary thrill of retaliation or the fleeting satisfaction of being right. To protect your peace is to refuse to hand your power over to chaos, to refuse to let someone else's instability define the atmosphere of your life. People will always challenge your boundaries, test your patience, and attempt to provoke you. They will speak harshly, act recklessly, and try to manipulate situations to their advantage. And yet, each of these moments presents an opportunity to demonstrate your mastery over yourself. When you choose not to engage in petty quarrels, when you choose not to match hostility with hostility, you affirm that your equilibrium is not negotiable. The world may attempt to drag you into turmoil, but you decide whether you step into the storm or remain anchored in calm. Protecting your peace requires vigilance, awareness, and the courage to stand firm in the midst of provocation. It is not about avoiding responsibility, ignoring reality, or suppressing emotions. It is about making conscious choices about where you invest your attention and energy. By doing so, you create an environment in which growth, creativity, and clarity can thrive, untouched by the turbulence that surrounds you. The highest form of winning is not measured by trophies, accolades, or the silencing of critics. It is measured by the resilience of your spirit in the face of attempts to destabilize it. To protect your peace is to understand that your happiness, health, and mental clarity are not for negotiation. You recognize that engaging in unnecessary conflict, allowing gossip, or reacting impulsively only serves to give away pieces of yourself. Your energy is finite, and every moment spent in reactive anger is a moment stolen from your purpose, from your dreams, and from the cultivation of a life that aligns with your values. Protecting your peace means valuing yourself enough to refuse to expend energy on what does not serve your growth or your well-being. It is a declaration that you are sovereign over your inner world, that no external force will dictate the rhythm of your thoughts, the steadiness of your emotions, or the direction of your life. When you commit to protecting your peace, you cultivate discernment. You begin to recognize which conflicts are worth engaging, and which are distractions meant to drain your vitality. You learn to listen without internalizing judgment, to observe without reacting, and to empathize without surrendering your boundaries. The power in this discernment is profound. It allows you to navigate challenges without being pulled into the chaos that so often traps others. You realize that some battles are not meant for you to fight, that some criticisms are not meant to be answered, and that some attempts to provoke are best left unanswered. By choosing your responses carefully, or choosing silence, you conserve energy, maintain clarity, and preserve the integrity of your emotional state. Protecting your peace transforms every interaction into an opportunity to demonstrate self-mastery rather than impulsivity, wisdom rather than reaction, and strength rather than vulnerability. Furthermore, protecting your peace is a form of silent influence. When others see that you remain composed in the midst of conflict, unshaken by insults or attempts to manipulate, it undermines their efforts and reshapes their perception of you. Your calm becomes disarming. Your steadiness becomes intimidating to those who thrive on creating turmoil. They realize that their tactics are ineffective against someone whose equilibrium is unshakable. In this way, protecting your peace is not only a personal victory, but also a strategic one. It neutralizes attempts at disruption without confrontation, diminishes the power of hostility, and establishes boundaries that cannot be violated. It is the art of winning without war, of asserting strength without aggression, and of triumphing without the chaos that others believe is necessary for victory. Protecting your peace also allows you to cultivate deeper connections, richer experiences, and greater fulfillment. When your mind is clear and your heart is steady, you can engage with the world authentically, without fear, resentment, or distraction. You can focus on creativity, collaboration, and contribution rather than being consumed by defensiveness or reactivity. Your relationships flourish because you operate from presence and integrity rather than conflict and reaction. Your goals become attainable because your energy is directed intentionally, and your clarity allows you to see opportunities that others miss while entangled in drama. In this sense, peace is not merely the absence of disturbance. It is the presence of power, awareness, and purpose. Protecting your peace requires consistent effort, reflection, and courage. It demands that you set boundaries, walk away from toxicity, and refuse to engage with those who seek to disrupt your inner harmony. It asks that you confront your own impulses and resist the urge to retaliate, proving that your character is stronger than circumstance. It encourages you to practice patience, to nurture forgiveness without compromise, and to maintain perspective even when faced with provocation. It teaches that the highest form of winning is not in dominating others but in mastering yourself, and that true victory is measured by the steadiness of your mind, the serenity of your heart, and the resilience of your spirit in a world that constantly challenges them. When you protect your peace, you rise above manipulation, negativity, and chaos, claiming a form of victory that cannot be taken from you, and that leaves your enemies powerless while your life flourishes in ways they cannot disrupt.